Hello everyone, welcome to PHTV 4, and this is Meet with Moraine. I'm Sue Jankowski, and today we have Mike Wade with us. Thanks for coming in today, Mike.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
It's always exciting to learn more things about Moraine Valley Community College, which I know you're all familiar with, right there in Palos Hills. It's where we can all go and participate in many classes. Lots of students there, and you could be a student there too. And I think today you're going to learn some really exciting things that you can want to participate in, actually. Mike is the professor, business coordinator, and does business internships. And there's some exciting things that we're going to talk about. But first of all, Mike, exciting thing. How did you get to Moraine Valley, and how long have you been there? A little bit of background about yourself.
Well, I got there from reading the Tribune and seeing an ad for a restaurant instructor. So at the time, I was a local restaurant manager, and I decided to apply, and I was hired. So I started at the college in 1987, teaching restaurant courses. So
Wow.
I've been there ever since.
It's a long time.
It's been a nice stretch.
Mm-hmm.
In about 2000, I switched over to the business department, where I teach strictly there now.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I guess I didn't realize there was restaurant classes. Do they, just background, do they still have restaurant classes?
Oh, yes, definitely. We have a wonderful restaurant, hotel, culinary program at Moraine Valley. In fact, I think 2 years ago, we built a restaurant. So that's being used by the students, and we've got great culinary instructors. We have 2 degrees in that area, which is under our business program.
You know, now that you're talking about it, we did have the chef, if he's still there, come in and talk to us, oh gosh, that's a few years ago now. So that's really interesting too. But you're in the business program.
Yeah.
So could you give us an overview of that business program?
Well, as we just said, we have the culinary and restaurant program within our department.
It is, okay.
We also have cannabis. So cannabis retail is under us. And then we have 3 business degrees. We have a HR, human resource degree, marketing, and then a straight business administration degree.
Okay, so do most students come in and kind of do, I mean, I think a couple of those are so specific, but do they come in and kind of take a broad kind of business class to kind of decide where they want to be in the business world?
Yes, they do. Students generally meet with an advisor, and they'll talk about their interests, and then we have the program guides that they'll follow, and those will work from an introduction to business course, Business 100, all the way up to our 200 level courses, Principles of Management, higher level accounting courses, all designed to transfer on to a 4-year school or stand alone, and many of our students get great jobs just with their associate's degrees.
Okay, I'm sure that's true. What kind of classes do you teach there?
I teach a basic business math course, a marketing, business ethics. I also do an introduction to human resource management. And what else? Well, I do this course, Stock Investing for Dummies. It's not Stock Investing for Dummies at Moraine Valley. It's actually Introduction to Investing, Business 116.
But these are great books because, it's not so scary when you read them. You're like, I don't understand anything. And so the word dummies is, handy for some of us when it comes to certain topics, make it simple.
And they're funny.
Keeps it light. Yeah, and doable. You can do it.
Definitely.
All right, we are going to talk more about that too. Now, with business classes, I know we do a lot of internships when you're in school. Does your program allow for internships, and how do you get the internships?
Okay. Well, we have a wonderful job resource center on campus, and that's headed by Dr. Pamela Payne. And within that area, there's an internship manager, Corbett Chico, and he and I work closely together, and he has found some wonderful internship sites for students. They have a great listing, so students in the associate's degrees are required to take an internship.
Oh,
So they will work with the JRC and locate some of the internship sites that they might want to apply to, and they have to apply and then be hired, and then they go from there.
so would they do that toward the end of their, like if they're getting a degree, it would be toward the end, or is that more toward the beginning? You know, internships are really a great thing, and sometimes I feel like if you start at the beginning, you can say, yeah, I love this, or,
Yeah.
oh, not for me, you know.
Exactly.
So how does that work there?
We recommend they do what you just mentioned, you know, start early, because you might find that your first choice was not a career that you wanted to pursue, that you just didn't enjoy that type of business or the interactions you were having. So you have plenty of time to change course and take another internship.
Yeah, that's really wise. And I think it's great that it's required, because without that experience, you really don't have the means to actually put it into motion.
Exactly,
You know, it's
yeah.
just knowledge you have, it's not knowledge you're using.
And we want students to experience different things. And what's nice about the internship is they're taking what's talked about in class and seeing it in practice. Or sometimes not put into practice, because they might be working for an employer or a supervisor who hasn't studied principles of management and is not the best supervisor in the world and could use a course in supervision.
You kind of want
Come
to
to
say,
Moraine Valley.
come on over.
Come on over.
We can
come
help you
on
a little
over.
bit. Yeah.
Learn a little bit.
So now what would they be doing for internships? What kind of internships would be available?
wow. Everything from being down at Disney World or over in California at Disneyland, locally, restaurants, hotels, retail, UPS, Pete's, grocery, you name it. We've had students there, and we're always looking for new employers to join us.
Sky's the limit then.
Sky's the limit,
Yeah,
yes, definitely.
Which is wonderful, because that gives you a lot of options, you know, coast to coast and also locally. You know, I was at the new Pete's Market, and I felt like, you know, there's a lot of learning going on at that time. They could be interns from some facility.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great way to learn. Jump in feet first and
Yep.
see if you like
And
it.
many of our students who start as interns are then offered full-time positions.
Which is really nice.
Yes,
Do you
develop
find,
their network.
Yeah, so do you find that the students that are in this program get their 2-year degree, decide they want to pursue more and get to a 4-year school? Is there a lot that do that? Or do they feel like, you know what, I know I like this, I know I can do hotel management or whatever alley they pursue? What's the case usually with this?
Oh, it varies. We do both. We offer, the degrees do transfer, and students do go on to DePaul, St. Xavier, Governor State, University of Illinois, Circle, Urbana, University of Illinois. So it's really up to the student what their plan is, their goal. Some want to stay local, save some money, do 2 years here, transfer on to the 4-year school. Other students find that they gain a good job, and while they're working, we've had some students at Chase. While they're working at Chase, they're moving on up.
Yeah, so they get started there and they know that the background they've had at Moraine, their experience with the internship, they now have enough inner confidence and knowledge to keep going without continuing more schooling.
And if they get that job, that employer might offer a tuition reimbursement program.
Oh, now that's
So they can
that's a good
continue
thing.
on
Yeah.
their education and have it paid by the employer.
Yeah.
Or at least some of it paid.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, I think a lot of businesses really appreciate having the interns, because are they paid, or is this like just part of your school tuition kind of thing?
Generally, they're paid. I recommend to students that for their own good, they should look for a paid internship. Disney does pay. People at Chase and UPS, of course, are paid. And students have the option of doing what they want to do with that. But most of them do have bills that they need to pay.
Sure.
And sometimes it's helpful.
Sure.
And we do have some students that might have their own job now, and we can work with them and their employer and turn that into their internship.
Okay.
So they don't have to leave that job where they're getting benefits and go work someplace else where they're the new kid on the block and might not be eligible for benefits for 90 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of options for them. Now, I'm thinking about businesses maybe not knowing that they could be part of your internship program. How do they find out, or, by this program, how can they maybe get involved in the internship program? Well,
Contact the JRC at Moraine Valley, and I believe their email address is jrc@morainevalley.edu, but it's up on the website.
Okay.
And they could talk to Corbett Chico,
Okay.
and he would love to get all the information from them. And I know he'll offer tables on campus if they need to do some actual hiring. So that's part of the Job Resource Center
Okay.
mission, to help out the community as well as anyone in the community. So if it's an employer or an individual. So Corbett is a great resource, and he would be the person to start the process.
Okay. So get a hold of the Job Resource Center.
Yes.
And, maybe you want to have some of the interns. The nice thing about interns is they're usually pretty eager to do well.
Yeah.
So you got somebody who's going to, do their best work. Do they get a grade or anything for
Yes.
an internship?
I have a course that I teach that is the internship class, and in that class we help them develop their resume, learn the importance of writing a great cover letter, follow-up letter, some of the correspondence that will help them get that interview. And then we talk about what can happen in an interview, getting over the nerves of being interviewed, maybe for the first time.
Of course, yeah.
And nowadays, interviews are different. When I was first getting started, it was one-on-one.
Right.
Now you're going to have a panel interview.
Yeah.
And you might have 7, 12 people
Yeah.
sitting around firing questions at you.
That's a little bit intimidating.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And they're not always the easiest questions.
No.
Where did you go to school? Well, the employer knows they can read that on the resume. So they might ask you a question that, might throw you off kilter a little bit.
Right. So it's good to be prepared.
You have to be prepared.
Yeah.
And we talk about those things in class and kind of go through a recap of various classes that they've had at Moraine Valley. Just the importance of accounting, business ethics, of course. I'll talk about the investing, the importance of the personal finance aspect in their job. So
Yeah. I mean, just the cover letter, how do I do that? What is it? What should I say? And the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? The resume.
the resume.
The
yeah.
resume is so important too, and how much information you're putting down. What information
And
are
what
you putting
information,
down? I think that's really a wonderful thing to do that. Plus having that practice of being interviewed and thinking on your feet, because you don't know what someone's going to ask. And it's intimidating enough to be interviewed by one person.
Right.
But when you have a whole group of people asking you questions, it's very, very, it's a little scary. So if you could get used to it by a little practice.
Takes
it would help.
practice.
Yeah. That's
And most of our
that's a good
students
thing.
are
Yeah.
required in their degree to take the speech course, COM 103. And it's been said that that's one of the courses that most students hate, because they start getting nervous when
Sure.
it's their turn to go up in front of the class
Yeah.
and do their 3-minute speech.
Well, especially in today's world where everybody has a phone,
Yes.
and I'm talking to you and you're talking to me, but we're sitting next to each other. So they're not even so accustomed to speaking aloud to each other and to other people and to people they don't know. So that is a wonderful practice for.
Well, in fact, that's a section that I cover in my internship class, the use of a phone in business, and some of the terrible things that people do with their phones, and when they should be looking at someone else, they're dealing
Yeah.
with their phone.
Look
or
up.
Look
You're
up,
gonna see
talk
a lot
to
of
people.
stuff. Yeah.
So we talk about that, the importance of proper email etiquette, even dining etiquette. I do an hour or so on that because many students weren't brought up the way I was, where my mom would slap my hand if I didn't eat properly or
No
hold
elbows,
no
no hats.
elbows on the table, and don't
Yeah.
talk with your mouth full. And some of the students have shared that they've been in dining situations where they wish they had the people with them had sat
Yeah.
through some training on
Yeah.
proper dining
Yeah.
etiquette.
Well,
So-
see, that's another helpful thing. Well, this sounds like a wonderful program for students who want to be serious about, getting ahead in the world and having a great job that you love and all of that. I want to move on to our investing class because this summer you're going to be teaching a class on investing. What all would that class be? Like, who's going to come to this class and who are you looking for? Is it students? Is it more the outside adult world? Who can attend?
Well, I would say anyone who wants to become a millionaire.
Oh, sign me up.
Okay. And it's online,
Oh, good.
so you don't have to come to campus. And we kind of walk through the money trail. And I've been investing seriously for 20 years. I wish I would have been more serious earlier. But I've done fairly well, and I wanted to share that with my students and give them a head start, because the earlier we start, the longer our money has to work for us. So if we put it to work when we're in our 20s and not just buying pizza with it or Starbucks or buying bottled water, I don't think this came from a bottle, but that's where we sometimes waste the money that we could send off to work in the stock market for us. And today, I'm very happy because the stock market's doing very well.
It is today. It's doing very well. Now, I think sometimes people are skeptical of, risking their money in a stock market. What kind of assurance or guidance do you have, rather, to help them realize that this could be really beneficial for them?
Read up on Warren Buffett. Invest in the things you know. Most of us know something about toilet paper. So if you use it, you might want to invest in it.
I see.
We use toothpaste. You might want to find out who makes the toothpaste that you always buy, whether it's Crest or AIM or whoever. Invest in that company. You're always shopping at Target. You do some research, maybe Target, maybe not, maybe Walmart, but within that area, you invest in what you know, and you research the areas that you think might be something that you'll be using in the future. So I don't know if I'll ever be in a flying taxi, an electric flying taxi
Vehicle,
service
yes, right.
from, I think it's Archer. But maybe that would be the next Microsoft or the next Apple in the next 20 years. But I've been a conservative investor. And, just those things that you see every day.
Would they have like a simulated, a simulated kind of investment practice?
Yes.
Where they can see what it's like to purchase something and then sell it.
And this is available to anyone. So you can go up on marketwatch.com and you can start an investing game. So I start one in my class. The students start off with $20,000, and then they pick the stocks, ETFs or mutual funds that they think they want to invest in. And at the end of the class, we kind of compare and see who's done well and who hasn't done so well.
And then I'm sure you would evaluate it a little bit, like what did you invest in that made you do well? What did you risk
They
and
do
not
a
do well?
report on it and talk about why they picked that stock. Maybe they they have a relative that works at Target or Walmart or UPS, and they learn a little bit more about publicly traded companies, because I don't think we really think about, when we go to a store or buy something, the company that's behind it. And
Yeah,
that company, as we're finding now, might not be an American company, but we could do well by looking at how they do financially. So I own some international companies, and I'm very happy. They've done very well, and it's helping my retirement, my future retirement.
Okay, and I think that's the important thing. When you're young, and anybody talks about retirement, you're like, oh my gosh, that's like in 100 years. I'm never, that doesn't even seem like,
Right.
But if you started early, you would have a nice little nest egg.
I start the course off with an online assignment. It's a little quiz questionnaire that students can fill out, and it generates how long you live. So you put in your general health, and you put in, whether you're diabetic, your weight, various quick questions, and it will generate and say you're going to live until you're 88, and you have a 75% chance. So if you're 20, you realize that that's a long way off. But if you start thinking about, because the next assignment is going to say, well, okay, if you want to only work until you're 60, how are you going to pay for your life from 60 to 88? That's 28 years.
Long time.
Where is that paycheck coming from if you're not at Moraine Valley or UPS or wherever you're working? That is a long time. So you better start now. Another part of that project is putting money away today when you're 20, and how much would you have in, to 65, that'd be 45 years. So if you put away approximately $500 a month in a Roth IRA, you'd have approximately $1.9 million.
Oh, wow.
Just from doing a basic Roth.
Just got to leave it there.
You just leave it there. You don't touch it. You don't decide you're going to have a bigger and better vacation. You got to be thinking about the future. Would you rather have something now or something when you're 70? Or be able to stay in your home when you're 80? Or if you need to move in long-term care facility, how are you going to pay for that?
Right. So
or are you going to move in with your daughter, and she's already told me no? So.
Oh, you have no choice. Packing my bags. Okay, so I'm seeing that you get a financial services certificate. Is that part of this investing program?
The class is part of the certificate.
Okay.
So it's one of 7 classes in the certificate. So it's 19 credit hours total. And the nice thing about the certificates in our business program is that they're stackable. And what that means is, while you're pursuing your degree of 62 credit hours, you get these 19 credit hours. You can petition free at Moraine Valley for your financial service certificate, and you can add that to your resume immediately. You've completed it.
Yeah.
In your resume while you're in school, it says you're going to school. You're pursuing a degree. Now you have something concrete that will help you get a better position, possibly work in a bank and progress within the banking industry or an insurance agency, or we've had some students at investment firms as part of. They know with those classes, you know the vocabulary, you understand what a Roth IRA, what an ETF is, mutual fund. When somebody says Dow Jones Industrial Average, you know what that means. So clients like that.
Yeah, it's nice when you start speaking the language.
You got to speak the language.
Can anybody, that is an online course, so anybody can take your course?
Anybody
basically
can take the class. It starts, I believe, June 9th.
Okay.
And it's based, we use this book.
Okay.
And it's kind of a forced reading approach, an assignments-based approach. So it makes students think about how long they're going to live. We have an assignment where they do a written budget. And a lot of people don't have a written budget. They just spend, spend, spend.
Yeah.
And if you spend, 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 you're not going to have a wonderful future life.
Yeah.
So with developing that budget, they see where they might waste money on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So that's discussed in that project and throughout the class. And we kind of work through the budgeting, how they might save some money. Then we get into researching companies, different things that we have available at the college and are just out there for everyone to use.
Okay.
Within the Market Watch game, you can actually do research. So we have I do a section on just the number of websites that are out there that people can look at. Investopedia, Money Guys.
And they'll learn some of these things and practical information if they're going to be taking your class.
Yes.
That would be wonderful. Okay, so now, people are, especially young people, investing for the first time. What kind of advice would you give them?
Definitely get started.
Okay.
And I always recommend a Roth IRA. And we talk about that in the course. And a basic requirement is that you have to have earned income. So that means you have to have a job, you're getting your W-2 form, because the IRS controls that as they control everything. And you have to work within those rules. So that's very, very important. But I think the Roth IRA, because once you retire, that money comes out tax-free. So if you have $1.9 million in your Roth IRA at retirement, you're able to spend $1.9 million.
It won't be taxed.
It will not be taxed.
Yeah.
In your 401k, or at Moraine Valley we have a 403b, that is taxable when the money comes out. So if I have a 1.9 million in my taxable 401k, or 403b, I'm sorry, it's taxed at whatever tax rate I'm at
I see.
In retirement.
Okay. So you want to make some wise choices.
You want to make some wise
Yeah.
choices, yes.
That you
Definitely.
can find out about, like, taking some
And
of
we
these
have,
classes.
I have what we call modules in our system on a lot of different things that people will experience as they work towards retirement. And when we're 20, we're working towards retirement.
Yeah.
I don't think a 20-year-old wants to work forever.
They don't. But it's hard for that 20-year-old, I think, to think in terms of, for most 20-year-olds. I'm sure there's some very wise 20-year-olds. But I think at 20, you're thinking about, the present.
Yes.
And so that's good. This is great knowledge for them to get. Are there scholarships for people taking business classes?
Yes, there are. We have a wonderful scholarship program at Moraine, coordinated by our foundation. And scholarships are open to every student, and we really wish more people would apply.
Okay.
More students would
To
apply.
apply, they just,
There's a link on our website.
okay.
And within that area, I believe it's one form will actually allow them to apply for anything. That within the system, it will just say, you're eligible for this, 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 and this.
Oh, that's great.
So
So
we're
try.
trying to make it.
Try to get a
And
scholarship.
I think there's thousands of dollars that still sit because students don't apply. But within the business program, years ago, we started a financial services certificate scholarship for $250. And we usually get one or two students that apply for that.
Okay.
And usually they're awarded it.
Okay. That's great.
And then we have another scholarship that the department started a couple years ago as well, that is for professional organizations. So we like students to really think about the future. So if you're a HR student major, you really should join the professional organization for HR managers, which is SHRM. and they have a student membership for $79. So if you apply, students apply for the scholarship, they can get that reimbursed.
Oh, that's good.
So
Okay, so you just have to, try.
you just have to try.
Anything else about the personal investing class or anything about the business program that we didn't mention or talk about? I think we probably have it covered.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think just as many people at Moraine, the teachers at Moraine do, we just lifelong learning.
Okay.
Just keep learning as much as you can. I'm constantly telling students to be listening to the news, watching the local cable channel.
Thank you.
Find out as much as you can, because you might find the next Apple or the next Microsoft.
You very well may.
And
Yeah.
you might just find that you need to move some investing into that area because you have too much
Over
in one area. Be diversified, which we talked
diversified.
about.
Mike, thank you so much for coming
Well, thank
in
you for
today.
inviting me.
And as you know, I'm going to repeat, Moraine Valley Community College is just down the street. And look, you can take an online course. You don't even have to leave your house. That is going to be your book, Stock Investing. Just go to Moraine Valley's website, which we will put up on the screen. And you've got some great information here now. And if you're interested, as maybe any age student, go find out about the business degree. Go find out about internships. Maybe you want to switch what you're doing. Maybe you want a different career. Maybe you just want to start investing. Anything can be done. You go out and do it. And watch us next month on Meet with Moraine. Go out and have a great day. Bye.